Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, it is. It's Tuesday morning, December 5th. Yes. So, today, I want to talk briefly about what's going on. Work and play, you mentioned the shop build and how things are going with that. I'll talk about that. A few points that I didn't get in on the parts lookup that I think are important to you guys, even your dealers. And a little bit of everything else, right? Typical Eric. All right, sit back and enjoy the show. All right, let's first start off with the parts lookup, the stuff that I forgot to add. I usually do a run through on it so I can see things the way you would see it, but I was running out of time yesterday, so I just threw it up. And one of the things that I noticed is when we were over on the Briggs portal, you guys couldn't see what I could see, which is crazy. But it showed that OEM carburetor kit, my cost was $23 and it lists for $28. And as you guys saw, we even found it on, I think it was Amazon for $2.99 plus $3 something for shipping. As dealers, we have to be smart, okay? We have to figure out how to make money for the shop and how to save our customers monies and also have a quality product so that when it leaves our shop, hopefully we're not going to have a failure with whatever product we use for a carburetor kit. And I like how Jason had said, about how he buys a lot of diaphragms, and I'm waiting to hear back from you on whether you use the ultrasonic or if you use the chemical bath for an hour and then put it back together. If it's an older machine, it's really hard to get those gaskets off, as you said, Jason, with a X-Acto knife, a sharp knife. And most often the case, you end up, you start to peel a little bit, so you might better just take it off and get yourself another gasket. And usually that's the mounting gasket where it attaches to the engine itself. But the big thing I wanted to point out, and like when I was talking about the Stihl MS-170, that's a small chainsaw. And a lot of people go to eBay and Amazon and will just punch in, like a Stihl MS-170 chainsaw carburetor. You don't know what you're getting at that point. And that's why it's important that you learn how to do a parts lookup. Because the more you know how to do it, the better equipped you are to find the right part the first time. And as I said in the video, that a lot of people will get the carburetor that the Chinese claim will fit that doesn't fit. It may bolt up, but it's not the right carburetor. And just chalk it up to, them doing something wrong instead of the Chinese selling you something totally different than what you need. So just be aware of that. When you go to doing like eBay and Amazon, when you're just punching in model numbers of a saw instead of doing the parts lookup and finding out, well, maybe the Stihl carries, the Walbro or the Zama, and it can go either way depending on how that saw, what day it was put together. Now, both the Walbro and Zama will fit that chainsaw, but just those certain part number, Walbro and Zama, okay? It's not a whole gauntlet of, what the Chinese are peddling. So just be aware of that. So Work and Play asked about if I could do a follow-up on the shop build and the sale of the shop and so forth. And as of right this minute, we have not sold the shop. I've had many opportunities if I was willing to carry the mortgage for, folks and stuff. which I'm not at this point. I may in the future, but at this point, it would be kind of, to me anyways, asinine for me to sell the shop on, you know, a land contract type thing, and then have to put out even more money of my own to build the shop. And then have to figure out where to store everything while the build is going on. You know, the one thing that I stress the most when it comes to how I think young people should be getting into the business is with little to no debt. That's what will kill you, is debt. It's not the, you know, lack of customers, this and that. It's how much money that you're carrying that's you have to now budget in. You have to make this number of dollars per month, or you're going to go backwards. Where if you carry little debt and you built your inventory up, you know, your building's paid for, I don't care if you're working out of your little shed out back, you know, that's all profit. Now you could say, well, so is it with putting up your new business every month that you're bringing in that money, you're making a mortgage payment, and it's that much closer to being paid for. I guess so. And if I were young, just starting out, and the building that I was putting up is multi-use, where if the shop failed, I could use it for something else, Shelby, where I could use it for something else, then, you know, fine. But for me right now, I'm looking at when I get ready to put it up, it's going to either be a 30 or a 40 foot wide. And I'm looking at 60 to 100 foot long. And that's going to house, you know, the office, you know, out towards the front, the back side, but up towards this end, and have the retail space. There's nobody here. They do this all the time. They act like they're vicious killers. But I would have the retail setting up front, and then have a partition wall, and then have like 2 big bays. You know, one garage door open maybe goes to 12 or 14 foot. And then one 9x7, and then a man door. And plenty enough room in there to, you know, work around and put stuff so you can alternate. If you're working on tractors, you've got quite a bit of room in there to put them in. And then on the far end, on this end, another partition, but I want to put in something that I can work my beef cows through. And that is more on track than anything else. If the shop doesn't sell here this winter, I'm probably just going to go ahead and put up a 40 by 50 and just turn that into the beef barn. That is more important to me right now. We're getting by with what we have. There's nothing wrong with what we have, but we're turning away work that won't fit inside for the winter months. You know, and you don't want to be doing a transmission, clutch, engine rebuild, you know, outside, you know, even in the summertime. So that's where we're at with that. You guys will definitely be one of the first people to hear if it does sell. Right now, with, land up here is selling very well. But most people are looking for a property that's move-in ready. And when I'm showing my property, I'm trying to get them to see that everything is going to be gone, all the shelving and all that, unless they want it there. But it's all going to be gone, and they got a clean slate. They can put in whatever kitchen they want. All the, you know, hot and cold water pipes are run through the concrete floor. The drains, they're all still there. I just cut them and capped them so that if I wanted to, at some point when I retired from this small engine repair business, I had thought about, fixing it up myself and just renting it out, for an additional income. Well, right now I've got 5 different properties, so I just soon thin it down to 3, to be honest with you. But so the rest of the video is going to be on, sourcing your parts as a dealer, and why aren't you using, like eBay and Amazon to source your parts? Because as I showed in the video, I'm a Briggs dealer, okay? And for me to get a carburetor kit for that particular Briggs engine, it's going to set me back $23. That's dealer cost. But yet, for $6, I can get one on eBay. But I can also get an aftermarket one off from Rotary for $11. So if I buy the $23 one for a customer, if they want just strictly OEM, I'm probably going to mark that up to 26. So I make $3 on it, okay? Plus the time. On a Rotary that's selling for around $10, I marked that up to $15, $16, and now I'm making, $5 to $6 on that part as a markup. But if I go over to eBay or Amazon and I order one for $6, and I turn around and I bill it for 10 to 15, you see where I'm going with this? Now you're making even more money. But this is where, we hear that shops are crooked. They're taking advantage of their customers when it comes to parts, because more and more people are learning how to find parts online. And it's a lot easier for the younger guys because you guys grew up on this. So, but in just showing, that the ones that are saying that the shops are crooked are the ones that are looking at the $6 one on eBay or Amazon and being billed for 23 is my cost, so I'd have to do $26, $27 on it. And they think that we're, taking advantage of them. Where in reality, we are not. We're stuck in the middle of this fight between China and the brands, manufacturers. Even the aftermarket companies are fighting with China. And then you have some independents out there still doing the same thing, but individuals like myself going and buying, let's say, 200 carburetor kits for that particular model or that series and selling them online. Or buying them direct from China through one of their sellers. Well, right now, China is in a war with everybody, okay? They don't care if they're making money or not. You're not talking about business people, you're talking about a country. And their goal is to conquer and overcome. And the way they're doing it is they're selling stuff at a loss just so that they're putting out the other businesses that are competing in that arena can't go that low. It's below even what they paid for it. But this is something that I normally see, that if China feels like there's an independent seller or something like that that's got a hold of, let's say, 1,000 carburetor kits, and they're selling it for 50 cents cheaper than China, plus it's shipped from the USA versus shipped from China. I've seen China tell its sellers to drop the price below $1 below what the other guy's selling it for. And they'll always be below that price because they have so many people in China watching what the competition is doing for pricing. And in the interim, it's crazy for you dealers not to take advantage of this war that's going on. If you can save money on parts by simply buying it off from eBay or Amazon, why not? See, we have technically 3 steel dealerships within a 13-mile radius. And I'm friends with all of them. One guy, I worked with him up to the mines for years before he started the shop. And he and his son are kind of old school. So if you have a Stihl MS 170 chainsaw that's not running right, they're more apt to take and buy a rebuild kit and rebuild the carburetor and then fine tune it, Randy does, and then kick it out the door. But now if you go over this direction, I've got John. There's also a Steeler dealership. And if they have issues with the machine running, the chainsaw running, I mean, they all do compression checks first to make sure it's not, low compression. But when I first started getting into the business, what I was trying to do was, pick these guys' brains that were doing a retail setup locally. They weren't selling online. They had their own customers and stuff. And he was not rebuilding carburetors. Because what I was trying to do was, if I knew that these local shops use this one rebuild kit a lot, I would list it online, but I'd also bring in some extras so that, I was trying to build inventory. And the rule that we had, not rule, but the agreement that I made with these guys was, if you run into a situation where you need a part, okay, and I've got it, I'll let you have it at cost. And all you got to do is just come get it. Call me and I'll check if I've got it. You can have it at cost. But they would do the same thing for us, if we needed something, it was reciprocal. And that's what I mean about when you get into business, instead of trying to compete against other businesses in the area, if you become friends with them and you're more than willing to work with them, and you're not the enemy, you're not taking customers from them, and you're not taking ones that are their good customers. As long as they're taking care of their customers aren't going to leave to come to me if I started my own actual repair shop. Because at that time, we didn't do repairs. We just basically were parts. I wanted to do the online parts. But John's dealership, if it came in, if it was running rough and stuff, they'd do a compression check. And if they felt that it was the carburetor, he would have his guys take the carburetor off, throw it into this great big huge crate, and put a new carburetor on. And I'm like, John, why not just carburetor kit them? I said, I'll carry the kits if you want to. He said, what we've done, Eric, is we've looked at it. How long does it take for one of my mechanics to tear that carburetor apart, put it all back together, and then hope like heck that the diaphragm gasket didn't get punctured or something didn't get pinched in the process, and put it back on and hope for the best. And he saw a number of them where they were coming back for the same issue with that carburetor. But that shop, they're charging $120 an hour. So what he explained to me, which, was common sense, right? Was, if it takes my mechanic an hour to tear that carburetor down, get it all cleaned up, take it all completely apart, put it all back together with a brand new gaskets and needle and seat and everything else, it's going to run an hour. So I got to bill that customer $120 plus carburetor kit. Now I could buy that carburetor brand new through my steel dealer, the manufacturer, the distributor for them, for $35. And I can mark them up to $50 plus the hours labor, and it's going to be, it won't be an hour's labor because it won't take an hour because they're just throwing another carburetor on. So he's saving the customer in labor costs, and he's making money on the new carburetor. And I mean, kid me not, they had this, it was like a 4x4 foot square tote, and it was like 5 foot sides on it, and they had that rounded up with just chainsaw carburetors for that year. That's how many saws those boys do. And for him, that made sense. And it is common sense if you sit down and think about it. But the other two shops, they rebuild. And they rebuild because they don't bill as high of a shop rate, for one. And they're more willing to take a chance on, even with putting a new carburetor kit in it, that they're not going to see it again for that issue. So when it comes to sourcing parts, I think as a good businessman, as a smart businessman, you need to take a look at all the different venues that are out there that you can have access to getting parts. Now I can tell you most of the stuff on eBay and Amazon for parts are a week to 2 weeks out, okay, from Chinese sellers. What they're trying to do is they're trying to warehouse at the ports like Kentucky and Florida, California, and having it packaged and shipped from there. And don't be these guys that are saying that they're U.S. sellers, and then they have the flag on their listing. Don't believe them either, because a lot of them are Chinese, and it's just a ploy to get you to buy from them. The big thing that I look at is how many days do they have until they ship it. If they ship it within a 24-hour period, and they're in the States, you're going to have it within a day or two. But most often you have to take into consideration when you're buying on those two venues that you're weeks out. So you're sitting there waiting for that part or that kit to get to you. That's the downfall of it. It's cheaper, but you have a longer wait on it. But if you know in the shop where you're using so many carburetor kits a year, why not just grab a couple extra and have them on hand so that you're not waiting? And then when you use one, reorder another one back in to take its place. That way you're getting stuff in and out. Because that's the key to this business, is the faster we can get it in, get it fixed, repair it, service, back out, the quicker we get paid. I mean, that's common sense, right? But what I'm telling you is, as a dealer, I look at all venues, and we will go where we can get the best price. I have no loyalty when it comes to our money with anyone. I have to look out after the shop. I have to look out after the customer. And those are the two main things that are in the back of my head when I'm making decisions on what to buy and where to buy. If I'm in a hurry and I need something and I want it the next day, I know that Rotary, if they've got it, I'll have it by the next day. No ifs, ands, or buts. Stens, most times, they're 2 days out, depending on where you're located, to the warehouses that they have. So hopefully that's helped some of you guys, on where to source parts, and maybe get you thinking that, You got more choices than just your OEMs and your aftermarket companies. You have another choice, just like most homeowners and do-it-yourselfers and guys that are doing it on the side. Don't overlook eBay and Amazon. All right. So you guys have a great day. Thanks so much.